You know what's better than just grading a single shot? Showing you how I graded an entire project. And not just any project, I'm talking about a #1 trending music video in Morocco by Zouhair called Magdar. Man, we've worked on so many projects together. I graded this one, this one, this one, that one, and so many more. So are you guys pumped? You wanna jump right in? Before we do, spoiler alert. The entire music video was graded using Qazi's toolkit. Speaking of which, the 4th of July special that we got going on the toolkit will be ending any minute. So check out the link in the description. If you're on the fence, you can download the demo version, play around with it. But if you want to take advantage of the 20%, you should act fast. Check out the link. I filmed 2 more episodes just like this one, so if you are interested, please let me know in the comments below. And also, while you're at it, do me a favor, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and let's roll the intro. I got the music video, and the first thing that I got from Zouhair was a mood board and some references. So here is my reference. What I did is I basically downloaded the sample video from YouTube, and then I went under timeline and I said detect scene cuts. And then it just added all the cuts, and then I brought it here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna turn this off and then ripple that change. So now we don't have the false color applied. So once I had the video in here, I went and picked out selects from this reference that Zouhair shared with me. So we ended up with about 10 frames, right? So these represent this project. So the first thing that I did is I used Qazi's Toolkit's charts, and I dropped that on to basically study what's really going on here. Okay, so I started with, first of all, false color. So once we have that, I just basically apply the same thing to the entire project. So let's just say if I do that, and then I will just do ripple select. So the first thing that I noticed is that there's not really true blacks anywhere. So the best way to do this is go in a lightbox view, and then you can just see the entire thing in one place. And what we see is that there's genuinely no true blacks. So even if I go to this shot and come out, like you'll see it's sitting around like -3, -4 stops. And we can attest to that when we come out and we look at our waveform. You see like how it's lifted. So if I go through shot by shot, you can just see where the bottom is. So like this is supposed to be black, and like look at where it's sitting. Not to mention this is our colorized waveform. So this is really good to tell you like the actual colors in the shot, and we can see that there is no true black. Okay, and I can even attest to that if I go to my parade, and you can just see how lifted the reds are, and then green, and then blue. So I'll go back to my vector scope, and we can see it right here. There is no like neutral tones right here. So there's a lot of red undertones in this grade. And so those were the notes that I was taking when I was just going through it. So like shadows are really lifted, which makes it like a soft look, like a dreamy look. And then it's all warm, but it's very much like living in this quadrant. And overall, just like red undertones, which is extremely important to know. So those were some of the things that I noticed. Then another great thing about our charts is that we have saturation false color. So not only we have false color, we have saturation false color. So this will get to tell us what are the saturation levels. So let's just look at the legend. Anything that starts to go past purple means that you are not Rec. 709 safe, ideally, right? So you want to keep things under that. You can hover over in that area a little bit, but not like where majority of your image is living here, because then you know guaranteed that it is outside of Rec. 709 color space. So if I go to my lightbox and look at this view, I see that there's some healthy saturation in her shirt. So basically like our hero gets the attention because she is the most saturated through her shirt. And then everything else is kind of like toned down. Again, a very important discovery. So now if I go ahead and turn that off, If I turn this off right here and then just apply that, so we can just like look at our images, and of course we can again attest to it, like it's a yellow shirt, so it's gonna pop, right? So this is just a good wardrobe choice. It pops, and everything else is sort of like neutral tones, right, in the image, besides her red, but it's like a deeper red, so it doesn't really jump out as much. Lighter, brighter will win always, especially if there's like a saturated hue, in this case, this yellow. So those are all the things that I noticed and I looked at. Okay, another thing that I looked at is our skin tones. So I went to skin hue indicator and then I applied that to the entire thing. So basically, three main things we did. False color, let's look at where the entire image is sitting, and that got to tell us the overall contrast of this look. Then we went to saturation false color, that got to tell us how much saturation is in the image, how much saturation is in the skin tones. That is also very important. So if I go here and I look at the skin tones and we can apply it to the entire image, let's just go and do the same thing here, apply it to everything, ripple select, and we can see the skin tones are sitting somewhere around 0.9, 0.75. They just hover around there. And this is how you can also tell like how good of a job the colorist did. Everything is very consistent. And this is the continuity that you're looking for when you're grading. So nothing is jarring, nothing jumps out, right? Everything lives in here. And maybe it dips here sometimes, but majority of the saturation and the skin tones is living right here. Another important information. Then we go to skin hue. Let's apply that everywhere. And let's start looking at where are the skin tones sitting. So majority of the skin tones are where they're supposed to be in the okay category, but then we got some green and we got some purple, which means like it just has like a little bit more magenta tones, right? So we're seeing that. It's like everything is okay, and then a little bit of magenta. And again, pretty good, consistent grade. It stays the same, right? So like magenta, okay. Magenta, okay. So these are the things that I needed to know before I went and attacked my grade. Okay, so now we're basically done with our research part. We grabbed some reference stills that we're going to use and go back and forth between our grade and the reference that the client provided us. And then I just went to Zouhair's video. And the first thing that I did, which I always do, I watched the video. Okay, so I will watch the video at 2x. Just kind of just go through the entire thing. And then the second thing that I do is I'm going to kill this for now. And then the second thing that I do is let's just actually go to Rec 709. So I'm just going to do that now. We have our Rec 709. And then the next thing that I do is this. In the lightbox view, let's start breaking it up into locations and scenes. Okay. So this is our first scene. And basically what's happening, the reason why you have to watch it a couple of times at 2x first is to understand the story. And that's extremely important. So then what I started doing is that let's just make it this small. So we have about 115 shots. So lightbox view is great because it's going to tell us how many shots we have to grade so we can actually allocate our time accordingly. And then the next thing that I do is breaking it up. So I went, okay, so they're about to get divorced. So this is how the music video is starting. He closes his eyes. He goes back to the good times that they had. And then we just go through that montage, different scenes. So like I basically, let's go to our graded now film. And then I basically grabbed this all the way down here. And I just like right clicked and I said, add into new group. And then I called it office. Okay. So that's attorney's office. Okay. And then you will also find these clips right here that are at the office too. So now this one is outside the office, but that's okay. I put it in the same bucket. So now that is our one scene, right? Like sad in the office, went through all of this memory, like walked down memory lane. Shit, I don't want to break up. I want to give it another try. happy moment, and then we end it on warmer tones at the end. But this is still part of the same location, same scene, if you will, right? So like when we build our grade, it's going to live in this entire realm. Now we move on to our second scene, which is as soon as we go into that flashback sequence. And I basically just went and grabbed all the outdoor stuff. So that's why I'm saying you don't necessarily have to be too picky and just break it up by location, because then it just gets kind of crazy. And then it's very time consuming too. So this music video was graded at a rocket ship speed. It was just graded so fast. And it's because the way I organized it. So I basically went ahead and I just grabbed every single thing that's outdoor. So I grabbed all of these shots. I grabbed this shot, right? Like this whole scene. I grabbed these shots on the beach. And I basically right click and I created a new group and I called it beach/street, right? So these are all beach and street shots, these shots. Okay, good. The next thing I did, I just grabbed everything that is indoor, this concert situation that's happening here. And I grabbed all of these shots. Obviously, don't grab this. And then I grabbed all of those shots and I right click and I created a new group and I called it concert. Okay, so then they all live there. So with group clips, you'll see a little chain and that will show you which clips belong to the same group. And then I went and I grabbed all these night exterior shots and I called it night bike, right? Then I grabbed all of these shots. She gets mad right here. She leaves because some other girl is calling the dude. She gets pissed. She leaves. Okay. And when she leaves, there is this sequence right here where he comes back to makeup. And I just grabbed all of these shots, all the makeup shots, and I right click and put it under makeup. Okay. So those shots go in there. These are sort of like outliers. So I call these three shots D&B. So Dave and Buster's, like literally just, because that's just what it reminds me of. So these three shots were sort of their own thing, but I still wanted to just organize it. And then that's it. So these are all our groups, okay? And if you click on this little guy, you can come down to groups, and then these are all our groups. So then the next thing that I usually do, I just pick one. Whichever inspires me, I start with that. So here I started with office. The reason why we were grouping them is so we can just attack each chunk. So this is a way faster process when it comes to color grading. So then what happened is I just literally went to this and that became my hero shot. We're going to build a look similar to what the client wants, but at the same time, there's ups and downs that are happening in our story, right? So in the beginning, they're about to get divorced. So I'm not going to go all happy and poppy and use those colors. So Qazi's toolkit was used to build the entire look, okay? Everything was done right here in this row. Okay, so we have QT color compressor, QT skin compressor, QT saturation control, QT film density, QT skin juice, QT halation, QT loop DNA, and then QT charts post, QT charts pre. The entire project, just like my last 14 projects, were graded completely using Qazi's toolkit. Okay, so the first thing that I did, because I knew that he wants this sort of look, I wanted to obviously choose a film print, but I went with Kodak 2383 and our iteration of 2383. Okay, right here. Best thing about it, it works in DaVinci wide gamut, which means we're working with 25 to 30 stops. Obviously, it all depends on the camera. So it's shot on RE Alexa. So we have about 15 stops of dynamic range, but our working color space has double that. So we have all the latitude, all the room in the entire world to play around and get our look right. And the best thing about our look DNA right here is that you can absolutely go nuts. Okay, so let's just say I go here and I turn on draw charts. And that's another beautiful thing about our custom curves. They are working in your reference color space. Okay. So like we chose to go with stops for as many parameters here as possible. So our highlights are in stop, our undertones are in stops, and our whites are in stops. And that makes it really easy. So I just went and just boom, pulled back like about 3 stops. So if I were to undo that, you'll see like how we get this. And then you can even see in our waveform, but that's not the look that we are going for. So to match the reference, I just dropped that down about 3 stops, and then it brought warmth as that happened automatically, because with the 2383, this is the curve. That's the initial curve with the 2383. And then the beautiful thing about Look DNA is that you can go in and modify on top of that. So we can take 2383, the bones of the 2383, and then we can build our look on top of it, which is mind-boggling, and especially in DaVinci Wide Gamut. So, which is also Rec 2020 ready, Dolby Vision ready, Netflix ready, all of those things, right? Because it's just your image is pristine. It's just ready to go. So if I were to take these 3 and turn them off, so this is without anything, without our look applied, right? And again, this will be our Rec 709. And then this is our starting off point. And then if we go here and if we turn on our curves adjustments, which applies the 2383, and then the other modifications that I made right here, as you can see, okay? So we end up with this. Just look at how beautiful this is right out the gate. One of the things that I did, I lifted my blacks. And the reason why I did that, like right here, I lifted them about 0.076. And that gave us, remember, like the blacks were really lifted in our reference. And we can even see that if I just pull anything here, like look at the black levels right here. So we try to lift our blacks as much as possible. So like obviously I'm not going to have, like if I go here, the blacks are like super lifted. I did my best to lift them as much as possible, but again, still throwing my own flair on top of it. But this gave us that look DNA, right? Like that thing that makes the other look so special. So we were easily able to do that with our blacks. I just lifted my blacks and then I pull my undertones down just to kind of give some drama to the image, okay? And then with that, if I were to turn this on and off, you can just see the look that we ended up with. And guys, nothing is crushed. All the information is there. It is so beautiful. With 2383 applied, we're ready to go, right? Like we're in a really good spot. Just a few changes and I'm in a super happy place. Then I went and I used the balance parameters, which work exactly like as if you've made these changes in camera. So exposure is in stops, and temperature and tint is also exactly like as if you've made these changes in camera. So if I do balance on and off, you can see I'm adding warmth, and it's a very, very believable warmth, okay? It's not the same warmth that would happen if I were to, let's just say my temp is at 1308, right? So if I were to do that here, so let's go to temp and do 1308. And if I hit enter, look at the results that you get. So that's not what you're getting here. Like this is so much more believable and controlled, literally as if you would have done it in camera, okay? So we're getting that warmth. We used our tint, and then we also pulled the saturation back. Now the saturation model is also way more sophisticated than the YRGB saturation, additive saturation that you get inside Resolve. And I'll pull the saturation back a little bit. It still retains all the meat. And then finally, we have bleach bypass that I used, and I just used a hint. It's set to 0.2 or 0.027. And what that does is that just this, it just basically takes the edge off. So if I do before, right, it's like this, after. I look at it, bleach bypass, I feel like is just essential for every single look that you work on, unless you're going for, let's just say, Asteroid City. So it's just like so crazy, like, and the saturation lives in highlights, then you want to use that. But basically what the bleach bypass is doing is this, right? Like if I go here and if I turn on my gradient charts and if I go to full screen and if I just show you what it's really doing, and if I were to bypass bleach bypass, you'll see like how the top just gets kind of ugly and nasty. The purpose of bleach bypass is to take the highlights and desaturate them, give it like that silverish quality, right? By adding contrast and taking out color. So that's what happens in highlights with bleach bypass. So we end up with a very interesting look, like which is this sophisticated look. So if I do before and after, it cleans it up, it leaves the saturation and the midtones as we saw right here. So it's not messing with my midtones at all. Like look at the entire image is perfectly fine. It's just cleaning up the highlights. So it's like extremely important. So this is before look DNA. This is after look DNA. We're there. Obviously, we have all of this going on. So let me actually turn these off and then go one by one and in an order how it was achieved. So once my look was created, like look DNA was created, I went under my QT color compressor. And what I did here is basically cooled off the undertones. And color compressor is a great tool, and we're using it in the opposite way right now. Usually color compressor is a tool like where it will let you select all the hues that are adjacent to the hue that you want to target. So let's just say this, and then it will pull all the other colors around it, okay? Or toward it, I should say. So basically, normally people use color compressor to even out all the other variations in the hues to the dominant hue that they want to focus on. Think of the matrix, where you will just take all the other hues and you will bring it close to the matrix green. So in this case, I selected this teal and then I used my compression near and I started pulling it to start bringing cooler tones on the low end, okay? So if I were to take this and go all the way, like you're seeing what it's doing, what a crazy split tone this is. If I do before and after, just like that with this tool, let's just turn this off. With this tool, like look at what's happening to my vector scope and nothing is cracking. That's another thing, beautiful thing about QT. Every single tool in our toolkit, it will never break. It will never crack, no matter what you do with it. This is such an interesting look and the skin tones are intact, but I didn't go that far. Why? Because again, let's just stay on track with what the client wants. So we want to have warmer undertones, but not super crazy. So like I still did this just to kind of break the monotony of this like image, everything sitting in one area. So like this just sort of like cleans it up a little bit, but not necessarily creating a full-on split tone. And then our nearby color cutoff point is like, where do you want that effect to stop? So if I were to take it and go all the way to the right, it will keep applying it. And if I go to the left, like I'm just basically telling it, hey, where do I want it to stop? And normally the good gauge is like, I will be just like looking at the skin tones. So like I'll be focusing like right here around his neck, like low saturated areas. And then I'm like moving this slider around and I'm just seeing like, okay, this is good. And then I'll just like leave it there. Like the way we're using it, it's pretty subtle. It just does a tremendous job. It's definitely a must have. So that's what happened next. And then after that, I went in and I leveled out the skin tones. So this is an absolutely incredible tool. And if I go here and if I just turn on skin chart, you will know exactly what this is doing. Okay, so let's make it full screen and keep an eye in this area right here. So if I do before, you see like how there's like so many different tonalities and like discoloration. And then if I do after, it just like goes and it just evens out this area, right? As much as possible. So like it does a pretty good job. And it's a very, like it's a specialty tool, but it is doing quite a bit. But see, like there is like some discoloration, like this is a little bit on the greener side. This is on the magenta side. This takes it and just makes it all one. And then we have skin hue rotation. So I went right here, I went to skin hue and this was to magenta. So like I started rotating the hue by 1.5% and then it gave me Again, okay skin tone, and then a little bit of magenta. Why? Because you guys remember when we looked at our reference, it was all like, majority of it was like okay, and then there was like 1/3 was like magenta in the skin tones. So now we're getting that. That's why having a tool like QT Charts is so important. And the way we did our research about our reference, we were very methodical, and now we're just applying those principles right here. So we don't necessarily need to be a copycat. You never want to do that. You just want to grab the essence of like what the client is asking for, and then throw your flair on top of it. Then we went and we used film density. It's doing quite a bit. I just wanted to give some weight to his lips, and then also like all the red tones in our image. I wanted to just like kind of just make it deeper, like a film red. So that happened right here. Then I took my cyan and I pushed it all the way. Okay. Now this is really crazy. Let's actually see it on a different shot. So like if I were to go here, and if I were to stop right here and go to film density, let's turn these two off because we haven't revealed those yet. So if I go here, there's nothing happening here. So this could stay on or off. And if I turn this on and off, look at what's happening. So we're adding some weight to the red, some depth to the red, and we can see it right here too. And then look at what we're doing in the background. I took cyan and I pulled it all the way back to like 1.5, negative 1.5. And look at the beautiful thing. It holds up. Let's loop it. Let's play it. Nothing is broken. Like, this is mind-boggling. This is not something that I have ever experienced, or I know for a fact that you have ever experienced. Even the color slice inside Resolve, it would crack right away. And here with QT, we have guardrails around everything. You just have fun with these parameters. Move around, do whatever the hell you want. And once you have that confidence in your tool, you can end up with really extreme looks. I mean, this is pretty crazy how far we pushed it, and it held. Okay. And then we went and used Skin Juice, and that just does so much, man. So basically, saturation for skin, exposure for skin, hue shift for skin, and then this is based on your RGB mixer. So there's no qualifier used here, okay? That's why it's called Skin Juice Mixer, because this is built on your 3x3 matrix, okay? So, and then we have like some really interesting parameters here, like saturation limiter. So like if things get super nuked, like some parts in the image, you can just use your saturation limiter and just literally pull those reds and blues, those ugly reds and blues in, and then leave everything else as is. So here we're pushing our image, and you can see the depth that we're creating with this tool and the color separation that we're creating. Like, look at what's happening to the frame, what's happening to the skin tones, what's happening to the teal in the back. Everything is coming to life. And that's how Skin Juice was used. And then QT halation, I went with 16 millimeter because I just like really wanted to have like a dramatic effect. And if I do before and after, I mean, oh my God, like our halation is so freaking good. It's just set it and forget it. It just, that's what I want with majority of my tools. Like I wanted to create a toolkit like where you don't need to be an expert to get results like an expert. That's the whole idea. But if you are an expert, there are enough parameters here that you can tweak and get it exactly how you want it. But even if you just slap these majority of these parameters on, you're going to end up with like insane looks. So like, just look at this halation is to die for how it works. Like I'm in love. So this is all that we are using for this scene to build the look. Now, what I do is like I take my primary shot in the scene and I build my entire look and I'm done. The entire look is created, okay? One of the steps that I should have talked about is that before the look is created, the first thing that I do is I go ahead and I just turn on false color, and then I apply it to my entire scene. And then I basically go through, and right now I'm just like looking at the skin and like, where is the skin sitting? Okay. So like I'm just kind of going through it and I'm going like, okay, this is looking good. So obviously this is balanced and you'll see like my exposure and balance node right here. This is set to linear. Okay. So I'll be using mostly gain. Gain will work as an offset, HDR palette offsets, and then I will like adjust my exposure. But more importantly, what I'm doing here is I'm setting the balance because what I noticed is this shot right here was too yellow, and then everything else like this shot right here was like super magenta. So what I did is I basically turned on my skin hue indicator and then applied it to everything, and then I kind of just started going through. So I saw all that magenta, and then I came here and there wasn't enough magenta, so now there's enough magenta. So I basically went in there. I'm using this in linear as I mentioned, so I just went and used my tint and I moved it over. And then now we got that magenta, we got the magenta, we got the same here, we got very much the same here. But that's not the case if I turn this on and off, like it's different, right? So this is like where we are making these adjustments. See, like this was way too green and now we have that magenta and that contrast. So we're like really making these changes to bring everything together. Okay. Like same thing, right? So this needed quite a bit of work. So that's why these tools are just so freaking important, man. And they just make your life so much easier because it's so fast. I'm just going through. I'm going to do temp and tint. And I'm going through and I'm like, okay, this needs magenta. This needs magenta, a little bit more magenta. I'm done. I don't have to rely on my calibrated screen. I don't have to rely on my trained eyes. I can just go, boom, 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 nailing it. It was that quick. I'm just using this to balance my shots. And I took one shot to create my entire look. And I applied that entire look to everything. And if I come out and if I show you this and we look at this and everything will latch on. Of course it will. Like it's done. So it's just that fast. Like you just saw what I did. I just created the look. Boom, I'm done. Now, this sequence, I wanted to add a little bit more juice and a little bit more warmth because again, like, you know, this is like the happy ending, right? So what I did is in the QT look DNA, I went in here and the balance by like once I bypass it, you'll see that's doing a lot of the heavy lifting. Like, look at that. Balance section came in super clutch. I did plus 2000 Kelvin in our temp, and then I added some tint. And we ended up with this. So this is before, this is after. I mean, this is doing a lot, man. Like, I mean, you're looking at it. And then, like, look at how beautiful the halation is. So let's go down and look at this first. Balance changed everything, made it so freaking good and warm. And then let's go look at our halation. I told you guys, this is to die for. I mean, just look at how good this is. Like, come on. And like, of course, I'm going with an extreme example. Like I'm going with Super 16, but if you do Super 35, it's like so clean. I mean, just look at that. Come on. Like, look at this. So I want to exaggerate it. So I went with 16 and it just works with especially the reference we were given. And just like, look at the, like it reminds me of like Joker, like right here, right? Like it's such beautiful, like cool tones. And then this is also playing a big part, our color compressor, because remember, see? So like a lot of this, these tones that are coming in low saturated areas and then hues are being compressed. So like this is giving us that drama on the low end. And then it makes the warm tones that much more delicious, right? Because there's like actually something like your eyes are led to that warmth. So then I'm done with this. What is next? I went to concert. I wanted to attack two completely different situations. And I'm like, if I can like have good looks going for these two, I will be ready to go. And you know what happened? Because the way the looks are built here, there is no qualifier being used. And then everything is working in DaVinci wide gamut. So you have like so much room. Look at this. Look at how crazy this look is. So I'm just going to do this. And we should just like move this down for a second. And if I go turn these on and off, Look at how extreme this look is and what's happening and how many colors are manipulated and halation and everything. And look at how beautifully these RGB lights are handled. Like, look at this. I mean, this is seriously, it is out of control. Like, I can punch in, I can do anything with 1000% confidence because nothing will ever crack. Like, look at this. This is before, and then this is after. And then obviously this is your Rec 709, and then this is what we ended up with. This one was very close to what we did with the first look. And then what I did is I just went in and I just made some adjustments to my temp and tint. So again, if I take these three and if I do this, this is where we're at. Our curves get us here. Our balance gets us here. So it just adds like chef's kiss, like warm tones in there, just like what the client wants. And then bleach bypass cleans up those whites, right? Just cleans it up a hint. It still keeps the warmth there. We can confirm it by looking at our waveform, colorized waveform here. And once again, if we go to our parade, our reds are up here, our greens are up here, our blues are down here. So that staircase will give you this sort of like really beautiful warm tones that don't look digital. They just look juicy as And then did the same thing, just went in and balanced my image. So, I mean, this is like our Rec 709, and then this is our look. It's so clean. I'm in love with this look. I mean, if I just go here and if I just do Rec 709, so basic. And then this is our look. There's so much happening. The halation, our halation is like next level. I mean, just look at that. Like, look at what it's doing here. So this is Rec 709, and then this is our image. And look at this, guys. When was the last time you used Codec 2383 and this is how the reds were handled? Like, I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, this is our Rec 709, and then this is our look. And look at every single tone here, how it's handled, like with so much love and care. And that's not what we were doing when we're building it, because we are pushing the F out of it. Like, we are not holding back. You saw what I was doing with my density. Like, I'm pushing it so much and it just handles it gracefully. Okay, so that worked out here. Like, again, look at how these colors are handled. Like, the halation is just going nuts here. It's just so beautiful. Rec 709, our look. And because we dropped about 3 stops in the whites right here, it's giving us this like Sicario style, really, really nice. Like, look at this right here, highlights that just like have a beautiful film-like roll-off. So this is like a digital ugly roll-off. And then this is where we are. Absolutely gorgeous. Okay. So like, look at this. Like I mean, look at all these different tones. Like, usually this is not what happens. Like, these colors break apart so freaking much. I'm like looking at my phone because Zouhair is going crazy. He's like, I think he just woke up and he's messaging me. He's losing his shit. He's like loving the grade. So Zouhair is like such a hype man. Like, he gets so pumped, and it's one of those clients like where it's so gratifying because one, the work gets so many views, but then more importantly, he gets so lit. And it's like, dude, that's what everybody wants. Like, people just want to get lit. People don't want to hold back. People don't want to keep the shit inside. We're artists. We're putting our hearts and soul into this, and we just want it to be appreciated. We want to be honest. We want to go 100% in, but then we want the other party to just like, if they like it, say it. Be about it. Look at my waveform, how many colors we got going on here. Look at my vector scope, how everything is controlled. Yet there is so much saturation. There's so much richness here. And just look at how beautiful everything is and how it sits. Like, it literally feels like it was shot on film. Like, look at how these colors are handled. Nothing is breaking. Nothing is cracking. The next thing that I did, I was super stoked when this happened. I went straight to the night bike sequence right here. And look at how gorgeous this is. So what I do is, like, as I finish each section, I grab those stills. By this point, I had my office and my concert done, right? So then I just went and I applied concert as a start off point, and it set me off in a pretty good spot, but I had to actually go in and make quite a few adjustments, but it still didn't take that long. I mean, I would say like it took like probably 5 minutes, if that, to just like get this dialed in. And I just wanted, like if I go here and we look at the saturation, we have a pretty good healthy thing going on here, right? Like in terms of saturation. And if I go look at the skin indicator, see, we got our okay happening, and then we have magenta. So like we're good there. And then we're ending up with this look. Like this is such a gorgeous look. Let's go to Rec 709. This is our Rec 709, not bad. But then this is what we're ending up with. And remember in our film density, how we grabbed the cyan and just cranked it? It's still cranked and it hangs. It just holds. And like, look at the depth we're getting in the jacket. Okay. And because we have a parameter here, protect low sats, so then it's protecting our skin tones. It's not fudging with it as much, but it's giving depth to the lips. They look so good. Look at the lights in the back, and especially the cyan and the teal lights. They just pop so hard. Even like this right here is popping. So I needed that because it's a dark scene. I can use any color available to like bring up some light in the image to create some interest. So this is the look that we settled on here, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Like, look at what's happening to the lights. The halation is just doing wonders here. And then this is doing quite a bit. Everybody's skin tones usually have some sort of discoloration. So you'll have rosy cheeks, perfect skin tone on your forehead. So like this tool takes the difference between these two areas and then it just merges them. It brings them together. And we're seeing it here. So it's like really closing that gap. We're ending up with like a absolutely gorgeous skin tones. And then it's even closing the gap between them two, because she's more olive, he's a little bit more magenta. And it's just like, it's closing the gap. It's bringing them together. So that was the look that we ended up with here. Look at all the tones, like right here, this right here, right? And then we go here and it's just like everything belongs. I mean, this is giving me a little bit of like moonlight vibes, right? Like how just, like it just, it's clean. It's pushed, but it's clean. Everything is breathing, keeping our shadows just like our reference. And I was super, super happy so far. And then once I was done with that, I grab all these still. So I added those in. Now let's go back here. Then the next one that I did was makeup. So I went to makeup and I basically started with this. And what I ended up using to build this was, I think it was this. So it was the concert. Concert was a good starting point. But surprisingly, for this sequence, I actually had to like mess around quite a bit to just get all the tones right. Because when you have shot like this, where the background and the skin tones are very similar, creating interest could be very difficult. So this one took a little bit to kind of just like get everything in. So if I just take this and, you know, turn this off, and then all the QT tools in effect, you know, we are ending up with like a really, really cool look. So this is like our Rec 709, and then this is our look. So there's a lot happening. Like you have cooler undertones. So you got the blue in her pajamas, and then you have like really neutral shadows or blacks. And we can confirm that if I go here and turn on my highlight neutrals, exactly, you see? So like there's like nice neutral tones. So then there's that going on here. And then we got this like really nice warmth, but a little bit on the red side, just like how our client likes it or wants it. And then our red is looking really good, really juicy, because we got our density in effect right here. And then you see like how our blue is lifted because the cyan is lifted, and it's actually pulling out that information in her pajamas, or else they would have been pretty dull. So it's doing quite a bit. And then we went to this section, and that is one of my favorite sections in the entire music video, and especially because what we were able to do here. I mean, this is pretty crazy. So, I mean, obviously it was built on the same look. Starting with the QT look DNA, we end up here, which is gorgeous. Like, look at what's happening to the background, to the reds. All that looks so good. Then I went to my color compressor, and I, again, see, it's doing so much. So like before and after. Like, look at that. Before and after. I mean, this tool is magic, bruh. And then here, what am I using? So like I'm using a little bit cooler tones. Basically, I'm taking this. So now in this one, color compressor becomes very interesting. Because here what we're doing is that we have a couple of different options. We can grab red and then pull everything toward red, or we can grab the complementary color, which is blue here, and then pull everything around that. So in this case, I obviously went with that. And then it gave me clean whites, and then it complements so well against red. And then the blue pops. So this is working so well. It's crazy. So I did that here. And then I moved straight into my QT skin juice. And that just like made the red a little bit richer. You can see that. It just does a little bit. And you can see like how in our vector scope, like how it's just like creating a split tone in a very clean way. But then this one, I went with my mid sat in the saturation control and pulled it. And that gave us like this really nice blue in the back. And then it basically added blue in the back. And then it eased off on like the extra red that was coming in here. So it just like really just chilled off on the red, which was perfect. Because it's like we got so much depth in the back, and you can see it here. Like we got so much blue here, but then the red got controlled. So I absolutely love that. This tool is also a freaking killer. And if you want that red to be like really, really screaming and pushed, you can go under your high sat and you can start doing this. Like, look at that. And it will still hold because look at that. Like it's not going past like anything. So it's still controlled. But that's not what I did. So I left it somewhere around here and I was happy with that. And if we move to film density, oh my God. I mean, this is what I'm trying to tell you. Like this film density tool is so exciting. Usually every time I bought a film density tool, I'm like, dude, I want my money back. Like it just doesn't work. It never works well. It just breaks apart. Look at this. This is wild. So it's like I'm taking my red and I'm adding some depth to it, as you guys can see right here. So we're adding depth in our reds. And then the most beautiful thing is like that cyan, man, we're still running with that narrative. Like negative 1.5, push it. Let's try to break it. Let's dare it. Let's just try to break it. And look at what it's doing. And look at what's happening here. So like we just get a crazy separation by that. And then we go and we add halation and come on. Like look at this. Look at this. And then if I just take all of this on, off, my God, like it's insane. And then like, look at how well it's going to hold. Of course it's going to hold. So if I just go here and if I just take all of this before and after, look at the depth that's being created here. Then this like fugly, whatever the hell it is. So this is our X709. This is our grade. I'm so happy with this music video. It's beautifully shot. So let's just, give credit where the credit is due. It's done right. It's done right. So I'm not going to take that from the cinematographer, from the entire team, the director, everybody involved. That's the beauty of like working on projects that are done right and have a budget, because I can just come in and then make art and take it that much further. And just look at it, guys. If I were to do before and after what we're doing here, and especially in this node right here, what's happening? Like, look at where we're getting all this information from. It is absolutely wild while deepening the red. So once we were done with makeup, we went to D&B. And Dave & Buster's, we just basically grabbed what we created right here. So I basically just built it off of that. I just applied that, which, by the way, was not anything different. This was still part of concert. I just create a look, and then I go and, like I mentioned, I just go here and I make some changes. But this one, everything was fine. So I didn't even have to balance it. The balancing was perfect. So I just had to go ahead and just create my look, modify it, and then be done with it. So if I just move this over, since we didn't use that, and do before and after here, like you can see, like, you know, we're sticking with our theme, the look that we're creating. And like the halation is so beautiful here. And then like, look at how all the colors are just so controlled. So again, if we just put this up here, grab these, kill them, just look at that. And then the bleach bypass is doing a lot here because you see like all this crummy, gunky blue. And then the bleach bypass is coming in and just taking like the highlights and just cleaning them up. And it just adds so much more depth into the entire image. Look at this, like what is this? And then it just comes in and it just breaks it up. And here we are with this. And then this is our Rec 709. And like, look at this. Like this gunky, whatever yellow, like, you know, tones that are there in Rec 709. And then we go to this, and like I said, it's just all of a sudden it's film, man. It's just so beautiful. And then the halation is going nuts. The skin tones are to die for. Everything just, Then the final behemoth was beach and street. This one was a little bit of a, this one took the longest because there's just a lot going on. And it just needed a little bit of like matching and stuff like that too. I think I spent the most time on this right here because I tried so many different variations and I couldn't really commit to one. Sometimes I just added too much contrast and then I'm like, that doesn't go with the rest of the video, because one of the things that you got to do is like, you can't just keep jumping back and forth, especially when you build a contrast like we did. What am I talking about? We dropped 3 stops on the top end in our whites. So then we're basically just like kind of living around here, just like how, say, Sicario did. If I were to go here and show you, where is it? Sicario. And if we just pull up, let's just say even this shot, you see like how during the day, this is like midday. Look at where the sun is, because the shadow is like right under her, which means this is like 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, right? So it's supposed to be 1 o'clock. And if it's 1 o'clock, what does that mean? That means this should be maxing out. It should be all the way to the top. It shouldn't be like around here. And then you will notice that it will be there for all these shots. See? So like right here and right here, meaning the look is set up and then that is applied on the entire project. Those values stay the same. We can mess around in between, but the black points and the whites will kind of lock in where they're supposed to be. So if you see my blacks, they're going to be 0.076 for the entire project, because that's where I wanted to keep my bottom of my blacks. And then for my whites, I dropped it -3, and that stays on for the entire project. Now we can go in and we can make highlights cooler, warmer, whatever, but those 2 values stay the same. And this is how, when we watch the entire project, it feels very cohesive. So we can dance around with colors and tones, but overall contrast doesn't jump around. Okay, so it doesn't like feel weird. So this one took a little bit to like really get a lot out of it, because this is our Rec 709, right? So it's like, it's okay. But then like we're just creating so much. And then I went with like literally warmer undertones. Our reference has like crazy red undertones, like insane. Like look at that, like too much, right? So I still want to keep it somewhat clean, but I wanted to have a little bit of like warmer undertones, and you can see it in the hair. And then especially in this shot, right? But then it just like looks so cool. Like if I do before and after, like this is such a look, right? And if we take the whole thing and if we do before and after, or if we go Rec 709, it's so basic. And then this is such a look. Like even like the sky, everything, a lot of it is just coming from these 3 guys right here. So that's our main look. Then our balance like adds such a beautiful warmth. Like look at that. And then bleach bypass just cleans the top end. This just looks gorgeous. I mean, just look at this shot. So let me just show you before, right? It's just so basic, Rec 709, and that's what we ended up with. It's like the right type of warmth. And again, because we have that available here, it doesn't feel digital. It doesn't look bad. It is how it's supposed to be. Moving on, I really, really love this shot. Like I love how it came out. Like it just reminds me of Dune. Like just these tones. They're just, and you can even see it in the waveform. Like, I just looks so good. So, I mean, this is our Rec 709. There's just not much there. And then like, so I had to really massage it and just love it. And like really like just keep pulling stuff out of it. I was very happy with this, like how it looks. This one was difficult because there's just like not a lot of control in the sky. And the sky is the brightest part. So then I just like really had to mess around with it to come up with something like where I'm just like, okay, I can live with that. So like this is our Rec 709 and this is our look. So there's a lot happening. And then again, like creating that drama where it's like lifted blacks, but then still have like that depth in the image. It takes a little bit to get there. So if we look at our draw charts, like, you know, I really have to play with my undertones. So like you can see, I'm doing a lot here. A lot. Like there's a lot of modifications here to like really get these tones. Tons of micro adjustments that I'm making because anytime you lift your blacks and you drop your highlights, you can end up with like a really milky, washed out, weird image. So to like really get what we got going on here, you have to mess around with it. So this tool is amazing if you just apply it, set it to a preset, Kodak 2383 or Fuji 3513, you'll get killer results. Go print it, get paid. But with your experience and as you get comfortable with these tools, you can like get some incredible one-off looks. One of my favorite shots in the entire piece. It's just so beautiful. That's our Rec 709. That's our grade. I ended up using a magic mask. So I just went here, selected that, selected like literally face and then use better in settings. And then it just selected that. And I still had to go in and use the blur radius and crank it all the way to have it blend really good. But this is before and after. Okay, so then I just like went and used my gamma and added that. And the gamma, the node is set in linear again. And then I'm just like using gamma to like lift it up. And like right here, she comes up and it's just perfect and it latches on. So it's great. Better than Power Window. Love this. It's breathing and there's like red undertones and I'm here for it. Looks so good. Clearly like the red undertones are happening through the curve. So if I do before and after, that's where like the red is coming in and I can show you the red in my undertones. I'm cranking it to about quarter or half a stop. So I'm cranking it up quite a bit to get that. And you can even see it in the draw charts. Like it just pokes out a little bit right here. And that's what's giving us like this beautiful nostalgic look, if you will. It looks gorgeous. And then these tones, anytime you're creating a look like that, it takes a lot more experience to create looks like that than like super extreme looks. Because these are just like, it's just so gentle. Like look at the waveform where everything lives. It's so gentle, yet like there's the right amount of separation, color separation, but then there's not a lot of saturation. Look at the vector scope. But then the blue is so prominent and then the brown is so prominent and the skin tones are gorgeous. So there's a lot happening here. And then the contrast is like almost like might as well be log. It's in the middle, but then it has enough juice where everything is separated. On your own, doing it inside Resolve, I mean, I don't know how you would do it. I'm just like so now used to just using my toolkit to get these results, like just results I've never gotten before, period. And to be able to get that and then just like lock it in. And then it just, like I'm telling you, this was the fastest I've ever graded a music video. Because as I'm getting comfortable with my own tool, obviously it's my own tool, so I was comfortable day one. But like as I use it more and just really hone in the process, I'm just that much faster. And then like, let's end the video with the last sequence right here. And I absolutely love this sequence. It's like so fun. And here's our X709. So it's not bad, but we created like a really freaking nice warm look. Like I just look at this and I'm like, I love the tones where everything is sitting. Like I'm looking at her jacket, her skin, his skin, and then the leaves. And this time we're using our mid sat to just like get some juice in and to get more color separation. And then that also helps with the warmth to get closer to our reference. And then color compressor is creating separation in the low saturated areas, right? So you can see like how he pops from the background. This is after, this is before, this is after. He pops. And this is how I graded this music video. And then there were some shots that we used power windows on. So like this one right here, because it's like without it, it just wasn't really doing it. Like this one was way too blown out, like the sky and all these shots. So I just created a window. I always have this window right here. So I just like modified it a little bit and then just used my gamma, pulled it down, and then ended up with that. And then that just like makes it look so much better, like in all of these shots. And then I applied it to this entire sequence. And like, if you just look at it, it brings it to life so much. Where else? Like let's just go to all shots and then we'll see where else I use power windows. I think I used it here too. So yeah, exactly. So like right here made sense, right? So like, I mean, even if you look at it, like this makes a lot of sense. So like, that's what we ended up with. I mean, like if you just look at the Lightbox view, it is absolutely gorgeous. Like this look that we ended up creating. So this is our Rec 709 as Rec 709 would look, right? And then like we go here and it's so pretty. Again, it just all goes with what the client wanted. And obviously, like I said, I mean, you know, Zouhair is losing his shit. So he's like super, super stoked. So at the end of the day, that's what matters more than anything else. You want your client to be super stoked. And then after I finish my projects, I just create a gallery still and I throw my selects. So I just go through the project and I just like grab still, grab still, grab still. That's like super important for making Instagram posts or just even like having it for yourself. And then I share these with the client too. So then they have material. Like if you can just provide a better service, like a better experience to your client, they're just going to love you for it. And then they would just want to use you that much more because you're just going above and beyond. Let's just look at this one last shot. So this one is pretty crazy too, because if I show you, this is our Rec 709 and then this is our grade. So you can like clearly see how much of that green gunk we took out while leaving the green in the back and then like complementing this. Like it just, because like this is such a dud. And then these tones just are so freaking juicy. Like look at this. And then look at her skin tone. Look at his skin tone. Like look at right here. This is before Rec 709, obviously. Log Rec 709. And then that's what we're creating. So the skin juice is doing quite a bit of work here. So like look at this. And then look at him. Like look at how he's separated from the background. And then the best thing about skin juice is that it's always going to add complementary action as it's doing here. So there you have it. That's what it takes to grade one of the best performing videos in Morocco right now. And guys, if you want to check out any of these tools, link is in the description. And again, the 4th of July sale is still active, but it will end any minute. So click the link, check it out. Download the free version if you want to test it out first. If you enjoyed this video, please do me a favor. Smash the like button, share this video with friends so we can grow this community together. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And on that note, much love. I'll see you guys in the next one.